The empty bowl and knowledge. Once upon a time, a man went to visit a wise person who lived in the mountains, far away. The journey was long and difficult, but the man believed that if he met the wise person, he would get all the answers to his life's questions. When he reached the wise man's place, he sat down with respect. He was very excited. As soon as he got the chance, he started talking. He talked about his knowledge, experiences, books he had read, philosophy, logic, science, spirituality, everything. He shared what he knew, where he had been, which great people he had met, and what he had learned. The wise man listened silently, without interrupting. When the man finally stopped talking, the wise man smiled and asked, "Would you like some tea?" The man quickly replied, "Yes, of course." The wise man got up, made tea and brought it in a clay cup. He started pouring the tea into the cup. The cup got full, but the wise man kept pouring. The tea started overflowing, spilling onto the table and then onto the floor. Surprised, the man said, "What are you doing?" "The cup is full. What's the point of pouring more tea? It's just gonna waste." The wise man calmly put down the teapot and said, "That's what I wanted to show you. Your mind is like this cup. It's already full with your thoughts, information, opinions, and ego. Even if I try to give you new knowledge, where will it go? It will spill out and be wasted." The man became silent. The wise man gently continued, "To learn something new, a person must first accept that they don't know everything. Until you are empty, humble, and ready to listen, no new knowledge can enter your mind. A person who keeps talking cannot listen. Someone who only believes in their own thoughts cannot learn from the wisdom of others. And a person who thinks they know everything has already lost everything. Knowledge is like light, but light only enters a room if the door is open. If you keep your inner door closed, the light can never enter you." The man sat quietly, with his head down. Now he wasn't speaking. He was listening. The wise man continued, "Many people come to learn, but they are tied to their own opinions, egos, and beliefs. They don't come to learn. They come to get approval for what they already believe. They want a wise person to agree with them. This is not the desire for knowledge. This is the desire for superiority. And where there is superiority, learning stops. Remember, only an empty cup can be filled. If a cup is already full, anything you pour into it will go to waste. Empty your heart and mind like dry land waits for rain. Only then will the rain of wisdom fall on you. Before learning, practice listening. Before speaking, learn to be silent. Before having knowledge, learn to be humble. That is the real secret." There was silence in the room. The man, who had come carrying a bag full of knowledge, now felt light from within. He didn't say anything. He simply bowed his head and extended the cup towards the wise man. This time, empty. Moral and life lesson. This story teaches us an important lesson. To learn, we must first empty our mind and our heart. A person who always talks cannot truly listen. Real knowledge needs humility, silence, and the power to listen. Ego, pride, and thinking, you know everything, are the biggest blocks in the path of learning. The more we think we know, the less we actually understand. Everything in the world can change its place, but knowledge only has one place to live, the heart. And the heart can only be filled when it is empty. The midnight feast. The invitation arrived with no return address. A black envelope sealed with wax in the shape of a serpent devouring its own tail. You are cordially invited to the midnight feast. One night only. No phones, no names, no limits. Location: 1313 Ashmore Road, The Hollow. Come hungry. Amara wasn't the kind of woman to ignore danger, but she also wasn't the kind to ignore curiosity. So, dressed in a blood-red gown with a thigh-high slit and no underwear, she stepped out of her car at 11:58 p.m. onto the gravel driveway of a towering Gothic mansion, half hidden in ivy and fog. The air smelled like roses and something darker, iron perhaps. She rang the bell. The door opened before her fingers touched it. A man stood inside, eyes like obsidian, slicked back hair, and a tuxedo tailored so sharp it looked like it could bleed. He held out a gloved hand. "Welcome, Amara. We've been expecting you." "I didn't give you my name." He smiled. "You didn't have to." The dining hall was decadence turned violent. Candles dripped red wax onto black tablecloths. A chandelier swung slightly, as though recently disturbed. Other guests, men and women dressed like desire itself, were already seated. None of them spoke. They only looked at her. The man, Lucian he called himself, pulled her chair out. She sat. Wine, the color of garnet, filled her glass. A roast pig lay on the center of the table, but no one ate. Not yet. "Tonight," Lucian said, "you will dine not with your mouth, but with your fear. You'll be fed on pleasure, but devoured by what you hide." Then the lights dimmed, and the red curtain at the far end of the room pulled back. Behind it stood a mirror, 12 feet tall, surrounded by bones and thorns. It shimmered like water. Lucian took Amara's hand. "Each of us will step through it before dawn, and if you return, you'll never hunger again." Amara's turn came too fast. The mirror didn't show her reflection. It showed her naked, bound, gasping in the arms of faceless lovers with claws for hands. She stepped through, cold, then heat, then breath on her neck that wasn't hers. She stood in a room lit only by flickering black candles. The walls were soft, pulsing, almost like skin. The floor squirmed beneath her heels. And then he appeared. Not Lucian. Number. This was something older, taller, horned, skin like obsidian, eyes like galaxies. His voice came not from his mouth, but from inside her skull. "I am hunger. You were made for me." She should have run. Instead, she undressed. He didn't touch her with hands. He touched her with shadows, with memories, with guilt. She saw herself at age 13, watching her father die. She saw herself at 20, seducing her best friend's lover. She saw herself crying after meaningless encounters, always chasing something deeper. And the monster fed on every gasp, every tremble, every shameful desire. Chains appeared from the ceiling, soft velvet that smelled like blood and perfume. They held her not to restrain, but to expose her. She begged, not for release, but for more. The darkness obliged. When she awoke, she was lying on a bed of velvet. Lucian sat beside her, reading a book bound in flesh. "Now you understand," he said. "You weren't lured here. You were summoned." "By who?" "By yourself." Amara looked in the mirror. Her skin glowed. Her eyes were golden. And her shadow had horns. The feast was still going. But now, they were feasting on her pleasure, her terror, her power. Lucian knelt before her. You may return to the mortal world, he whispered, or remain here as a queen of midnight. She smiled and bit his lip. When she finally walked out of the mansion at dawn, the house crumbled behind her, brick by brick. No one else came out. She was naked, but she was radiant. She passed a gas station where a man looked at her wide-eyed. "Miss, are you okay? Do you need help?" She turned. Her voice was soft, calm, hungry. "I'm fine, just never felt so alive." She got in her car. In the rearview mirror, her reflection smirked, her lips red, her eyes glinting. And behind her, the horns were still there,